Hello everyone and welcome to this special video for ICC, summarizing the Olympiad that was finished, I don't know, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. And, well, let's start with the end. Well, the US team won, which was, well, it's a big thing for the open section. The Chinese women won for the women's section, which is kind of normal. The Russian team, which were number one seeded for pretty much eternity, didn't win once again, so nothing really new, right? But still, it was, the Russian team is really unbelievable. The US team did what they had to do. It looked very tight, but I would say that the biggest heroes, objectively looking in the Olympiad, are the Ukrainian team. Well, we can back it up and we will discuss the Olympiads from many angles. First of all, a little bit funny statistics. The last time the US won the Olympiads, Chess Olympiad, was 1976, 40 years ago. The previous time the US won the Olympiad before 1976 was 1937. So 40 years plus, give or take few months, the US wins the Olympiad. So, Sandro, we need to prepare US winning the Olympiad, I don't know, 2056 plus minus, give or take a year. But I think that US is going to win many more Olympiads before another one in 2056, mainly because, well, as we could see, 3 of the top 7 players in the world play for the US. 3 of the top 7 players. It's used to be Soviet Union that had, I don't know, 10 or 5, I don't know, big part of the top players in the world were from Soviet Union. They could put 3-4 teams that were stronger than any other competitors. Well, I don't think any country will ever do it, but Caruana, number 3 in the world, Wesley So ahead of Nakamura, number 6 in the world, and Nakamura number 7 in the world. That is the best 3 boards that you can pretty much have. So unless Carlsen, starts playing for Russia, which might be possible when we have Naidic playing for Azerbaijan, the miracle and mysteries of the chess world. Naidic playing for Azerbaijan. Okay, it doesn't make sense to me even if I will repeat it 1,000 times, so let's leave it apart. Okay, in the US team, basically, Caruana played well, scored a little bit above his rating, 2840 performance. Nakamura just scored at his level, around 2800. The big hero was Wesley So. Not only his performance was very close to 2900, he also won the very critical games that were needed, mainly the big game, beating at that time the unstoppable Nepomniachtchi from the Russian team in the big match between the US and Russia. Nepomniachtchi had a 7 out of 7, which is not really bad, but he lost with the white pieces to Wesley So. Robson scored a little bit under his level, played few games, and Shankland, well, pretty much did okay on the 4th board, but extremely important, fortunate, lucky game against India, which we will see. The Ukrainian team, really had one big hero. I mean, Andrei Volokitin on the 5th board that ended up playing 9 games. Let's start with that. He broke Kasparov's record from the Bled Olympiad in 2002. Guess what? The last time that Russian won the Olympiad, Kasparov had a rating performance of 29.33, and here we have Volokitin with 8.5 out of 9, performance rating of 29.92. Okay, that will be one of the highest performance ratings in history. I mean, pretty much beating everyone. So, that's he actually hasn't played against the US match, but that was pretty much amazing. He had 1 draw against Wei Yi, and he beat Grishuk, he beat many other 2600 players, 2700 players, and so on. Okay. Well, the women's section, the US team had a extremely respectable performance. Nothing amazing on the individual board, but still finishing in the 6th spot, where they had beating the Russian team, which was a huge sensation, mainly Irina Krush beating Kostanjuk from kind of lost position. That was a huge thing with the black pieces, and then very close, playing with the Chinese, which if they had won the match with the Chinese, they might have won, might have gotten another goal. That would really be something, but lost to the Chinese, and then, well, Irina Krush in the following round blundered in a drawish game, which pretty much took the US women team out of the medal. There were many other heroes in this Olympiad before we go to the games. I can mention on the individual board, Jobava winning the number 1 board, the gold medal with the above 2900 performance. Volokitin, which I've mentioned, Kramnik, old great Kramnik, right? I mean, maybe needed someone next to him. By the way, a question. Why didn't Peter play for, by Peter I mean only one, there's Peter Svidler, played for the Russian team? I don't know, but would make huge amount of sense to have him there instead of maybe Tomaszewski. I think that is, I don't know the reason, but I think Russia team would look completely different with Peter there. So Kramnik had won the gold medal. Wesley So won the gold medal for the 3rd board, but I would say much more amazing on the 3rd board from Wesley So's previous chess federation, the Philippines, Eugenio Torre, with an amazing 10 out of 11. Okay, his opponent rating was average 2450, still performance of 2836, and in 1982, that is 34 years ago, Torre was playing candidates matches against Tribli, being, well, I mean, top 20, 30, 40 player in the world for a little bit, probably 30, 40. I mean, he could be, you will forgive me for saying, grandfather of Mr. Wesley So. So when I think that he's scoring 2840 and there is a 2 generations difference, 10 out of 11, I think this is just incredible. Okay, Nepomniachtchi with 28 performance, but lost a very, very big game to Wesley So. All right, now about chess, we will maybe have some more statistics, but, well, it's not easy to put the finger on the absolutely crucial game that have decided the Olympiad. I still feel that it would make sense to touch the match between the 2 winning teams. I mean, US won on tiebreak, but Ukraine had 10 match wins and 1 loss, and that 1 loss came after, just from this board, Caruana against Elyanov, game boards 2, 3, 4 were all draws. So basically, let's call this one the game that decided this big, huge Olympiad, but then we will see others that are very close by. All right, this is all theory, and we are not going to much to discuss theory at all. I will just mention that, okay, I mean, this seems to be a very popular line in 2016. I mean, there are many games that were played actually in the last 2 months, 3 months. At the beginning of the year, we have Adams against Giri, then we have Van Frost against Renderman in Amsterdam. That's very, very recent game. Inarkiev played this against Gelfand in their match. That was, I believe, a month and a half, 2 months ago, Kazimdanov, Mamedov. So this line is extremely, popular. I believe in most of the other games, the move Bishop A6 was played, and actually this is in the PGN. Okay, I want to go to the critical position. This is pretty much, seems like equally stuff. I mean, the pawn on E6 is quite weak, and White is not really able to play B4. That is a very big move. Is white gonna be able to play b4 or not? Okay, so black has done what is kinda wanting to do, playing this a5, and if white needs to defend the e6 pawn and cannot play b4, okay, well, it seems very difficult to think about winning for white. Okay, Caruana played immediately b4 in this position. Take, and okay, I think here a very big critical test is what happens if just take the pawn. I mean, something like this is a huge critical test, and I think that it is quite okay position for black. I mean, something like this, black can get his queen for activity. It is hard to see how white is able to push the pawn, use his queen, and avoid perpetual on the king side. I mean, I will tell you honestly, I haven't analyzed this position for 1 hour, 2 hours, not even half an hour, but I looked at that a little bit, and by instinct, it feels like this should be, well, I mean, should be okay for black. Black will have, as I mentioned, lots of chances for perpetual and for many other things. So I wonder what Elianov was really scared of. Well, one, maybe something is deeper than what I've mentioned, but if not, okay. He played rook a8. Maybe he was just too scared of the pass pawn. But all right, this position by itself is still all right. Although, okay, somewhat feels that it's a bit more pleasant for white playing this one. And okay, here I think a wrong decision in some way. Playing rook take e6. And allowing white to capture the pawn on f3. After it, okay, white is just better here. I mean, still maybe not critical, but feels a bit in white's favor. The move queen f8 is something to consider. But all right, let's say nothing is yet so critical. Rook takes c4. Maybe another, I would say, very small inaccuracy, but I can tell you that the computer somewhat prefers the move rook f6 and then trying to play c5 and e5. Okay, with two sets of rooks on the board, pushing the a pawns will be incredibly difficult. And okay, black has some play on the f file. So I feel that the last two moves were the one that started giving white some play. c5 is an excellent move. Yeah, and I would say that here came, I feel, the absolute critical moment of this game here, or maybe let's say on the next move. I feel that after rook a5, okay, it's already clear that white is better. The a pawn has become a passed a pawn. The king is a bit weak. It is clear that in the last few moves, black's position from being reasonably okay is no longer, or being completely okay is no longer completely okay. Still, after rook a5, activating the rook on the fifth rank to e5 and so on, I think that a draw is the very likely result of this game. I mean, that's the way that it just seems in this position. I mean, obviously there's more play, but I mean, a lot more play, let's be precise. But queen c3 can go here and some stuff like this. I mean, the way the game went, okay, suddenly now e7 is vulnerable. There are some threats here, and black is less active than in the previous position. Once again, in this position, I would prefer rook a5 to rook f8. I mean, here black's position is becoming very, very critical. I mean, yeah, this is not where you want your rook when white has a pass a pawn. I mean, having the rook on a5 was a huge, huge difference. I mean, maybe the position here is on the verge of losing, or very, very probably lost position. The king is weak, the structure is completely destroyed, and the pawn is there. So those were possibly the 5+ moves that have decided the Olympiad. Okay, Caruana managed to convert it in a great way. Very, very, I don't feel he gave any chances to Elianov at any moment. I mean, queen e2, just wanting to push the pawn. Yeah, this rook, e6, okay, not even caring about it, playing the move a6, and the game is over. I mean, if rook to a7, okay, this is just winning, because if the queen take, there's no way for the king to survive such position. Like, for example, okay, it's just a matter of trying to find the right way to checkmate. For example, okay, here, let me just show one checkmate variation. Here, king to h6. Okay, and enjoy, right? I mean, just one funny variation. And if the rook take, then rook e7, and so on. So basically, white king is totally safe, and as I mentioned before, black king is also weak. It's not just about the a pawn. Okay, no checks for white king. And black king is getting checkmated. Well, this was, I would say, #1 game that have decided the Olympiad without looking too much. Other games that were huge games was, okay, the game that Wesley Saw beat Nepomniachtchi at that time with 7 out of 7. Okay, I think we should look at this game. All right, so the big game between United States and Russia happened on the 8th round, after Russia was trailing by half a pawn, mainly because of an amazing loss of Grishuk with the white pieces to Volokitin, something that had a huge effect all over decisions, what and where and how to play for, I believe, captains and teams and so on, because it's different to play when you're equal points and when you're half a point less. All right, well, in this game, it was basically Nepomniachtchi that played such an amazing chess, really was just completely outplayed. Completely. I mean, this is all theory, and was actually played in a game between Caruana against Wesley Saw this year in St. Louis, the US Championship. I will be honest and say I haven't checked if it was part of the Blitz games or after, but I don't think so. I think it was in the tournament itself, I would say, but I haven't checked. But they play this way: knight g6, bishop d3. So basically this is somewhat new territory, I would say. And the position is, okay, nothing much for white. Yeah, okay, pawn take was also possible, but here is a big decision. I mean, black got his pieces in great squares. I mean, let's put it the simplest way. Black pieces are in very nice squares, and I think that white is not worse, but I think white should try and play something like capture on d5, and if the knight take, okay, isolated pawn, but the normal play around the isolated pawn, right? I mean, white has a light color bishop, his knight will control the dark squares, his bishop can always come to c4. I mean, I think white is, it's roughly equal game. Nothing more, nothing more, nothing less. Pawn take, I mean, everything is possible, but I feel that this is a way for white to play. If he's feeling that maybe he's heading into some trouble, but I don't feel that Nepomniachtchi felt that. f6. Okay, I can tell you that Mr. Computer is saying that, okay, this position is unclear. He gives white a 1/10 or 2/10 advantage or something like that. But to my taste, I think black has a very, very pleasant game in this position. For example, I mean, once you can start considering such variations, I don't know. I don't want to look at this position if I'm white. You know, there are many, many dangerous things. Maybe white is okay, and again, believing the computer, white is okay there, but I think the take was the easiest choice for white. Nepomniachtchi played rook a3, but very soon found himself without a play. Worse structure, amazing blockade, and I think here is already worse. But worse in, I would say, even somewhat unpleasant play. It's not a worse that you say, okay, I'm worse, I will go to an endgame that I'll make a draw, I'm tiny worse. There are many pieces on the board, lots of pawns, and not easy to find play for white. The position very soon deteriorated. The blockade. I mean, okay, now this idea of bishop d3. I mean, black knights just dominate the entire board, and okay, I was looking at the game here, and I just couldn't live when the game was played. Just couldn't find anything to think about playing for white. It just looks really ugly. I mean, in this position, okay, if rook g3, g5. I mean, black just dominates the board. Weak, pressure, amazing knight, amazing squares, you name it. Ouch. No, okay, probably was possible to play better than how Nepomniachtchi played, but he just went down. I mean, wasn't easy for him to find anything. I mean, Wesley Saw improved his position move by move. And okay, not taking as much time as he needs to get everything. One exchange queens, and okay, I mean, here was the only moment to calculate that after this, probably took Wesley Saw half a second. White is getting checkmated. Yeah, I mean, maybe last trick, right? I mean, if this one suddenly this is a this is a big story, right? Well, the movie is 7, but well, yeah, not happening. The game is over. So this was really important because Ray Robson on fourth board, well, had a equal game against Grishuk, and then suddenly close to the time control, he actually collapsed and went to, I mean, from position that was pretty much equal, went to an losing pawn endgame, what it seems. So that was a huge win for the US team, right? Instead of losing to the Russians, they equalized this game. Another game that had a huge effect, this time from the Ukrainian Russian match, was the game of Grishuk against Volikitin. I mean, definitely, I would say before the game, a huge favorite match for the Russian, especially this board. Grishuk 2750, but we have seen him at the top 10 in the world. He was 2810. So I would say that on the surface, one would say that, okay, 2750 is, one would think Rishuk is stronger even than that. And okay, so 100 plus rating points with the white pieces. But this turned out to be, well, maybe this is the decisive game of the Olympiad. I would say that each of the 3 games I've shown you is one of those, but, well, there are more. Okay, let's go to where the action is starting, because this game cost the Russian to lose the match to the Ukrainian. Okay, so bishop h3. Okay, it's quite a normal idea, right? White wants to play knight d2, but he doesn't want to exchange the bishop. So, I mean, this would have been a very normal way to continue. But Volokitin, which is a very aggressive player, I believe he was close to 2700, and he's one of those players that, okay, either win huge or lose huge. And as I mentioned, he broke the performance record in the Olympiad held by Kasparov. That says something. Okay, so playing this way. Okay, I can tell you what computer is saying to play for white. I don't know if how many humans would have taken this direction. Computers say take here. Now, I mean, if this take on f7, and after take, okay, I don't know, move the rook somewhere, and white is better. There is a game, I haven't attached it to the PGN here, but I'm just telling you, if you would like, you can probably search it easily on Google. It's a game between Kasparov and Smyslov. I think it was played like in 80 or 81. I mean, I don't remember exactly, but I remember very well the story of this game. The story was that young Kasparov at that time sacrificed an exchange, had a bishop on f3 and bishop on g7. The material is identical. I mean, it is, I don't know, the DNA of this position to Smyslov-Kasparov 35 years ago is identical, and, well, it was unpleasant for white. Kasparov ended up winning with the black. So, with all respect to computer, maybe it's best, but I don't know how many humans would go that way. King g2 is, okay, really bad because of this move. And if bishop h3, this is just lost. I mean, g4, queen h4, and completely stuck. So the game went very, I would say, unless you want to take the exchange, this is normal. Okay. Okay, I mean, and this is, if white wants to make a draw, of course he has a draw, right? I mean, this is a draw. I didn't even bother to look if rook g5 is working, rook d5 is working in this position. I mean, actually would be pretty amazing if it does, but okay, it's not. Just moving the rook and nothing in this position. So a draw. But white is maybe a bit better here, and therefore Grishuk took. I mean, the bishop will come to defend. So he's a pawn up, but the king is a bit weak, and okay, after c5, objectively it should be a draw. I mean, okay, computer maybe gives white to be a bit better here, but I'm not really buying it. Some maybe rook ac1 or something like that, but rook d1 was played, h5, take. I mean, even if white gets to an endgame, I mean, most endgames that we can imagine from this position should be drawish. But there are so many pieces on the board. And okay, f4 is just a big mistake. I mean, not a blunder, but a mistake. f3, white is somewhat better, but I mean, not even. I mean, theoretically better. Black has enough pressure in this position. But after f4, okay, suddenly no rook f2. The bishop is under attack. Okay, bishop a1 I think is a wrong move. but maybe bishop c1 with the idea to play something like this way. I mean, okay, either way, it looks like black is already better in any of the versions here. They went this way, and okay, I want to go to where I think white had his chances. Okay, here. Now, I mean, Grishuk is one of the greatest rook endgame defenders in modern time that I can remember. Some of the games that he has defended, I mean, in the match against Aronian, in the candidate matches where he beat Aronian, were just incredible. Against Kramnik, the next stage in that candidate match cycle. I mean, just incredible positions that he has defended. You know, in blitz games, I've seen him play some rook end games, and okay, but this wasn't it. I mean, I'm not certain. Okay, obviously it wasn't his day, but after take, it just seems that okay. I mean, white has as much activity and some play against those pawns. I mean, computer pretty much says this is immediate draw, but we can just see that without even usually calculating some stuff like this. Okay, and really, this is where black extra pawn up is. So this is amazing that, you know, forget about the middle game tactics, but such position, I mean, I think really Grishuk would defend pretty much all over, but not in this game that was huge for the Ukrainian team, playing, by the way, without Ivanchuk. Actually, I don't know why Anand hasn't played for the Indian team, and why Ivanchuk hasn't played for the Ukrainian, but few more inaccuracies. And all right, well, you know me, connected pawns at this part of the board, that's really nasty. Yeah, and doesn't matter how great of an endgame player you are, this is a moment when you're just resigning. Horrible play all along by Grishuk from the middle game to an endgame that I believe he could have saved, and those were really the big three games, I feel. I mean, let's see one other game that I felt was really important for the tournament, and then we will discuss few interesting games that happened. Yeah, I try to set the games by the importance that I see them for this Olympiad and for the result. The Indian team had an amazing run in the tournament until, okay, they lost in a very nasty way to the US, 3.5, very nasty way. But you know, this result is tricky because it looks like Hare Krishna had a decent advantage against Caruana at some point in the middle game, and on the fourth board the game was over. Okay, it was plus 20 for black, plus 10. I mean, it was checkmate, resigning, and they lost that game. So it looked at some point like the match against India from US can be 2-2 or maybe close to that, but that turned out to be another very important story. I actually want to go to this game on move 30. So let's join this one on move 30. Okay, this is the position after move 30. The Indian team again had a very respectable performance without Anand, and actually Hare Krishna played the candidates pretty much without a loss. Actually, I'm saying he played the candidates because, okay, he played Caruana, he played Carlsen, he beat Karyakin, he beat Mamederov, he played first board, he also had above 2800 performance, and I mean, okay, for Karyakin, his performance was just like his rating, 27, 60, 70, but I don't know. If he wants to be able to do something against Magnus in the match that is going to start in about 2 months, well, he better show something something more. He blundered big time against Hari Krishna. You can see that in the PGN. And okay, he was probably lost against Mamederov that miraculously made a draw. But back to our game here. Okay, this game reminds me of the famous Nakamura-Carlsen game from Zurich 2014, where Nakamura was like +10 with white for quite many moves. Carlsen said after it, he played the only move he could see not to resign on the spot, and ended up winning in one of the greatest, I cannot even describe what happened there. This one is a bit the same, and not actually even as severe. So, I'm lazy, I put Mr. Computer here, he's saying knight c4 -22. I don't know what it means. Maybe I should get a stronger computer and something better than Houdini 3. It will show forced checkmate, but it shows that after this move, okay, basically there's nothing to discuss here. I mean, this is really white cannot move, and he's just about to get checkmated. I mean, bishop takes f4. This is a threat. I mean, don't even know how many sides. f5, queen b3. Okay, once again, I mean, this bishop takes f4 is on the verge of checkmate. I mean, it is just on the verge of checkmate, this position. Forget about winning or not winning. Is it checkmate or not? So this was played queen f7. Okay, not a great one. Knight c4, rook. And okay, here from still possible to finish the game on the spot here. I mean, okay, maybe one has to calculate a lot and see some stuff, but well, those are strong players. Knight takes e3 would have led to something quite close to checkmate after this continuation. For example, king d3. Okay, now just so many threats, and the queen cannot get out, right? I mean, no, this is really checkmate stories or very close to that. And if take, okay, I'll just show you one line that I want to follow. Rook to g4. Okay, if king f3, queen h5, and okay, I just think that this is quite a funny, pretty variation. Checkmate. So, big game. Could have been actually a very big game, but bishop e7 was played, and now after rook d7, it's already completely, well, still black supposed to be winning, but okay, much less clearer. And all right, white is already better and went on to win. I really feel that those 4 games that we have seen here, either way, whether by tiebreak, whether by direct matches, basically were the most decisive one for this tournament. There were some other stories in this tournament. I mean, let's start a bit with the men's section. Carlsen, that has known to have some very bad chess in the Olympiads. If I'm not mistaken, in 2010, he lost 3 games in the Olympiad. I believe he was already player number 1 in the world. He lost to Jobava. As I mentioned, Jobava again had a 29 plus 100 performance in this Olympiad. But he lost to Jobava, he lost to Sujurov, and he lost to Adams. And last Olympiad, I cannot remember if he lost 1 or 2 games. He got crushed against Saric, and I do not remember if he lost another one. This Olympiad, he actually hasn't lost any game, but he was, I would say, lost in 2 games. You can see both of them in the PGN. One against Sadora, playing for the Philippines, but was playing for many years for the University of Dallas. And the other one, well, it was our buddy commentator, our friends, David Smurden, that was just being too kind to the world champion and decided that he doesn't want to beat him and want to get him out with a draw. Let's see this one because, well, one, it's our David Smurden. Secondly, I think it was a very cool game. All right, so Let's go to the critical part of this game. Okay, bishop e3 is less common, and long castle and pawn take. Okay. Now, this queen f4, I like this move very much. The idea is that, okay, it fixes white pawn structure, and if something like this, okay, white just has really big development and play. It's not really easy for black to get all the pieces in the game. White has, even without queens, lot of activity. Queen c5 was played, and now, well, they don't play that in the Linares in the World Championships, I guess, but, well, you play that when you're an ICC commentator. No, I'm just taking credit from David that played b4. I don't know, like it or not, I mean, I think it's amazing. It's just a great play. I mean, wow. I mean, the king is on c1, playing that active. I think it's also quite strong, but or at the very least extremely interesting. I mean, hunting the queen. Okay, Carlsen took, and I mean this is a critical position. I think that queen h4 is a mistake, but after queen h5 there are some huge complications in this position. I mean, if we play rook d to g1, okay, now for example, the innocent looking move bishop f6 is resigning. I mean, totally game over. I mean, there's nothing to do against, okay, capture and some stuff like this, or many things in this direction. If queen h4 take, and now this funny move, just amazing. So g6 is needed, but if g6, okay, there's some big tactics in this position with knight takes c6. I don't know if, actually it would be interesting if I'll get to do some commentary online with David. I'll definitely bother him and ask him online about this, so it will be interesting for everyone. I mean, take is just game over here. I mean, something like that. Okay, I mean, it's, one can analyze a bit more, but the bishop is being won or checkmate. This is, black cannot save himself here. So the only move is this incredible knight e5, right? Incredible knight e5. Okay, very easy when you are analyzing it just like me with the computer on. So I don't know, again, during the game what the players had seen or not, but okay, and now I guess if white wants to make a draw, this is a reasonable choice. Somehow I feel that here white is going to be better. Computers say this is alright for black, but I don't know. I don't believe him. But what about the move that Carlsen played? So maybe if we believe computer, there is some draw here, unless I've maybe overlooked something, maybe need to analyze more. But after this queen h4, take, rook h3. Now I think after looking at the game, maybe well, g5 is again not really a great possibility. I mean, white can just play rook g1. This is the threat. Yeah, and this looks like black is very well. Black is just losing in this story. I mean, here. This is just one story. Maybe maybe bishop e7 is a better move than bishop g5 that was played. But then, okay, you know, it's just a question if white has more than a draw and what can he do. But Carlsen played bishop g5, and as I mentioned, David was very kind to him, too kind, and allowed the world champion to escape with a draw. But after take, and now, okay, bishop retreat, probably c2 is very logical. I mean, it depends how deep we want to go. I mean, let's make it very simple. I mean, this position is horrible for black. It's a very, very bad position for black, and the same goes after king g8, rook g1. I mean, I don't know if it's losing or on the verge of losing, but it's definitely something in this territory. Okay, one big huge drama in the women's section was a 2200 player crushing the woman world champion. I mean, in really, really incredible game. So, you don't see that. And okay, the Chinese won their part, but I cannot say they really played great. It was really an exciting tournament, that Olympiad, that was decided by tiebreak, and well, a big huge win for the US chess team that, well, did what they had to do, and and how they did it when the Russians once again #1 seeded. Well, we'll see about next Olympiad. Maybe the Russians are not going to be the #1 seed. Just a quick thought for me. When we have three players like Caruana, Nakamura, and Wesley So, three of the top 7 players in the world, top 10, that's not going to change in the next 2 years. I'm about willing to bet that. And some young players like Jeffrey Zhang and few others that I really believe will be another top player coming in the US in the next 2 years. Well, maybe it's going to be US time to control the to dominate the Chess Olympiad as the Russians did. Well, we will have to wait for the Olympiad in the next 2 years. All right, hope that it was a lot of information, a lot of games in this Olympiad, and hope that it was somewhat educational about that. Bye-bye.